Hi guys, welcome back to Power and Poise, and I am your real and raw Barbie Asia, giving everything real and raw. And today we have such a fun episode. What your love language really says about you. I am so excited to get back into filming some more fun topics. I think our first 40 episodes, well, we're at 43 now. Our first 40 episodes were pretty, you know, core hitting. So I'm excited to explore some other avenues such as love languages, communication styles, dating styles, how you do dating, how you are in job settings. I think that'll be very introspective to kind of give you an all around view of how everything we said in the first 40 episodes, how they lead up to this. So if you are interested in learning more about other things such as the power of your subconscious mind, what's your anchor, how does it feel to be you, and learning to value yourself throughout everything, flaws and all, of course, listen to our previous episodes. But if you are excited to hear this one, stay tuned. So let's get into it. It has been an absolute whirlwind of a show. It has been officially, well, now when this one comes out, about 2 months and a few weeks since I've graduated college, and it definitely hasn't been easy. For a moment before I recorded this, I forgot that I was coming home to reset myself and reflect. And although things aren't the best situation that I would ideally like it to be, I know this time for me at home is supposed to and will strengthen me for, the next part of my life, because it will be me entering true adulthood. So I need to just give myself grace, give myself love, give myself compassion, hold myself accountable to an appropriate standpoint, as well as understand life is unpredictable and so much is unpredictable, but I have so much to be grateful for. So that's why we kind of went MIA for a bit, to be honest. I'll probably slowly dive into that in other episodes, but no need to be negative, because love languages. Can we talk about love languages? Isn't it so funny how love languages are kind of, I don't know about you guys, but I'm always asking somebody, what's your love language? What's your love language on, dates? Well, I wouldn't say on dates. I don't really per se ask on dates the first round, but I feel like I do ask after, like, a date or so has passed. And I'll also say just love languages with friends, your family. I think it's just so fascinating, right? Because when you think of a love language, you think that it's like, oh, this is how I need to be loved. This is how I give love. This is how I receive love. 333 on the clock. Oh my God. Like, this is my love language. Like, this is me. But what if I told you your love language might not be a preference, but a pattern deeply tied to your trauma, your childhood experiences, and your unmet needs? So let's get into the 5 love languages. Gary Chapman's love languages is what we'll be referring to this episode. Words of affirmation can be defined as, in my own personal words, giving affirming energy. Affirming energy. Oh my goodness. Just like give a definition without using the word. But giving someone accolades, really just boosting them up and giving your appreciation in word form. So this could be like, I love when you do this. You're so beautiful. You're so smart. You're so this. You're so that. Really affirming to someone what they're doing and how you appreciate them and how you see them. Remember that point. Acts of service is our next love language. So if you like to receive acts of service, you enjoy when people are doing things for you, maybe handiwork around the house, maybe taking your car to get service, maybe picking up your groceries, maybe walking the dog, etc. Now, if you are a giving, your love language giving is acts of service. You may do those things for people in ways to show your love for them. I didn't find it necessary to do the same thing with words of affirmation because those are pretty interchangeable. That's simple if you know the definition. Our third one is going to be receiving gifts. If you are receiving the receiving end of the gifts, you enjoy when people are buying you things, giving you things, crafting you things, anything in the giving, right? I do want to kind of break this down for 1 minute because I do think, in my personal opinion, just a sidebar with this love language, our generation, this new generation, with the tricks, the givers, the providers, we have kind of skewed receiving gifts and acts of service as one of the same thing. A lot of people confuse acts of service and receiving gifts and they put them together. And I want to make this really clear. I think there's a huge difference between acts of service and receiving gifts. Why? To me personally, acts of service is something that some people, it's kind of like the same notion of like, you can ask your friend for $20 and they might not give you the $20, but they'd rather order the food for you. That's kind of how it is to me. Or you might ask somebody to borrow money, but instead of borrowing money to give you gas or give you this, they'd rather just take you to work that day. Kind of that way. There are some people that are like that. So with receiving gifts, to me, this is like the shopping sprees, little things, maybe a craft. Oh, I walked somewhere and I seen this and I got this for you. Oh, I went on vacation, I seen this, I got this for you. Gifts are a more tangible thing, while acts of service is kind of really customized to the person, which is why later I'll talk about how I think acts of service is kind of one of the biggest overall love languages that you should want to receive, because it is so personalized to you that this service is only fulfilling you. Now, when you go into receiving gifts, it can get jumpy. You might not be a woman, a man that enjoys getting gifts, but you'd rather the other love languages. So we won't get into too much of a sidebar for that. But back to the main topic. If your giving love language is giving gifts, then I will say this is when you're going to the store, buying stuff for people, blah, blah, blah. This can be customized, but at the same time, this is where it gets really dicey. And the whole point of this episode is because depending on your childhood trauma and the traumas unbeknownst to you that are living deep in your shadows, you may be using this as a default and you may just be universally giving people the same thing overall, assuming it is going to give you the love that you are wanting from that person and that they're seeing you in a certain light. Now, if it gets dicey with the receiving gifts or giving gifts, because if it is not customized to this person, you can be showing your cards as well as you can be slowly withdrawing yourself from the relationship and you don't even know. Our fourth one is going to be quality time. This one is super self-explanatory, spending time together, with whether it's watching movies, whether it's at, it could be at your house, it could be out, it could be a walk in the park, it could even be FaceTime. I think a lot of people always think quality time is physical in person, but it can be those times just spending on the phone and having those intimate moments as well. So, once again, all of these love languages are catered to your childhood trauma, your beliefs, your limiting beliefs about yourself, and other factors of yourself. Now, before we get into the last one, which I saved last for a reason, I think it's really important to understand that this is not a negative episode, right? I think when we talk about trauma, what happened in your childhood, your limiting beliefs, it can have a negative connotation. But this is why I love Carl Jung so much, because he realized these shadows aren't actually negative. These shadows are the gateway of your new life and you becoming your highest version of yourself and the person you always desired to be. Imagine that. We take our childhood trauma, the negative things that happen to us, and we put it in this negative form, but those core factors and those core memories and those core events are actually what can unlock us to have our most prized life that we ever dreamed of. Isn't that insane? So please, as we continue to listen to this episode, listen to it with an open ear and also an open mind with yourself, and give yourself grace, because this can be a triggering topic for some people, and this can lead to intrusive thoughts. This can lead to you kind of going back to that day, that moment, that event, that circumstance. So give yourself grace and love while listening to this episode. And remember, this is strictly for entertainment, and I am not a licensed therapist. And so funny, I've never said that in any episode, but I feel like this is an episode that needs to be said in. I am not a licensed therapist, and I do not have my license yet, but I am knowledgeable on psychology, and this is my heart, this is my baby, and I love research on this. So I'm here to provide you guys with information that I believe can help and change your life for the better. So let's get into our last love language. Physical touch. Physical touch is a very jumpy and dicey love language, because it can be such a positive and such a negative. And although I just said we're not going to talk about it in a negative form, but I mean negative in the way of, you could have had something happen to you and now you don't like to receive physical touch. Or you could have had a childhood or a life experience where physical touch was a normal way to express your love. Or, as I said before, maybe love wasn't expressed in physical touch way, and maybe other events and instances have happened in your life that now make you prone to having physical touch be something that's a trigger to you. So physical touch to me is such an interesting love language, and something that I personally feel like researchers aren't talking about enough and diving into, because I personally believe knowing what someone's love language is, and if they are naming physical touch to be one of their top 3, comparing their other 2 love languages to physical touch, and you guys understand what I mean once we reach the end of this episode, you can kind of figure out what their childhood trauma is, or the traumas that are happening within them, and what their personality type is. So, for instance, if you have someone who has words of affirmation, acts of service, and physical touch as their love language, you can tell, okay, maybe this person did grow up in an environment where physical touch was that way. Maybe someone did grow up in an environment where physical touch was a very natural thing, paired with words of affirmation, paired with acts of service, if we're looking at it in the positive light. Now, if we're looking at it in the negative way, remember, negative is not actually bad. We're saying negative in the opposite connotation as positive, to see how someone's triggers from a certain experience, a young experience from childhood, or just a simple series of events can now lead them to act in a certain way under the assumption and pretenses of, if they act this way, they will receive the love they once never received. If someone's opposing ways, we're looking at an opposite view, the negative side, is words of affirmation, acts of service, and physical touch, we could say, was this child abandoned at a young age? Did they lack physical touch? Did they lack words of affirmation? Did they not receive things being done for them, if this is how they like to receive love? So understanding, you really have to see what people's giving and receiving love languages are to really get another glimpse of their personality. Obviously, this is not going to break down everything, and you should not judge anyone. We have all gone through this thing called life in so many different various ways that it's just insane for us to all live such different immersive lives. But if you are curious about your partner and you are wanting a long-term relationship, or understand why certain things are going the way they are going in your relationship, this is a great perspective to take a look from. Now that we have broken down the 5 love languages, let's dive into love languages or love wounds. As we said before, the negative and positive is not meant to be viewed or heard in surface level form, rather allow us to dive deep within these affirmations with our own emotions removed from them, in certain connotations and definitions removed from them. So we're able to look at this at a foundational level to understand, am I being affected this way? Is this why my love language is this way? Is this why I receive this? Is this why I give this? To allow us to open our mind and expand our vision to see how these love languages are actually tied to our early childhood events. So, words of affirmation could indicate emotional neglect or verbal invalidation growing up. Acts of service can stem from feeling not being supported or feeling like you have to do everything alone. Receiving gifts might come from a desire for security or feeling unseen unless being given to. Quality time can reflect abandonment wounds or not receiving attention when needed. Physical touch might point to a lack of affection or boundaries not being respected. This is not to shame any love language, but to bring awareness to why it forms the way it does. So, as you guys reflect on those definitions, and if you choose to reflect on your own love languages or love languages of others around you, I'm going to share what ChatGPT, aka my FREEE therapist, has said my love languages are. And a moment of silence for how it read me. A moment of silence for how it read me. So I asked ChatGPT, what would you guess my love languages are based on my trauma and what I've told you? ChatGPT respond, based on everything you've shared, the heartbreak, the yearning, the strength you had to carry alone, the disappointment of being over sexualized, and the way you crave intimacy that feels safe, here's what I deeply sense about your core love languages. They said I would receive words of affirmation. Physical touch was a surprising one to me, but I could see why they said that, and we'll get back to that. Acts of service. And they said bonus quality time, but I would say that that's over physical touch. But guess what? Exactly what I've been trying to explain to you guys about the positive and the negatives of a love language is exactly why ChatGPT put physical touch for me. So let's break down why it's a core for me. So words of affirmation was to heal emotional invalidation in absence of support. So I received that because I did not have the emotional validation growing up, and I felt as if I had an absence of support. Acts of service is to finally receive love through action. Once again, if you're feeling like you're not supported, you're feeling like you're invalidated, you are wanting someone to do for you so you can receive, and you're going to associate that with, oh my god, they like me, so they're doing this, they're doing that, which can get jumpy, but we'll talk about that at the very end. Quality time, to feel chosen, prioritized, and present with. Now, what I found interesting about the physical touch was, anyone who knows me in real life knows I am not a physical touch person. I do not like hugs. I don't like that type of intimacy. It's very hard for me to hug someone. It's very hard for me to embrace someone. But the ultimate irony of that is when I was at my peak with my spiritual journey and I felt like I was on cloud nine, and when all of the great things were happening in the pod, I would go to these events and I would hug and embrace people, and I'd meet people. I'd give people personal readings, not tarot readings, but just energy readings, which, I miss doing. I really do miss doing. And I just sit there and just say what came to my mind in the way that, this is going to get us off track, but it's going to be a point. The way as I'm reflecting to that shows me that that is what my true self is meant to do. My true self is meant to embrace others. My true self is meant to give healing to others. But since unfortunately I have been objectified my whole life and I felt not enough, whether it's from the color of my skin, whether it's because of my body type, whether it's just because of other various factors, I always reduce that part of myself. So when ChatGPT put that my receiving love language is physical touch, and they said why it's a core for me is because they believe it will rewire touch from objectification and safety, which I found so unique because when I was at the point of my spirituality journey and I was embracing people and I was feeling high off of just life and my vibration was just so high, I felt so positive. I was always embracing people. I was always touching people. I always was wanting to express myself because I felt it was an energy transfer. And to see that ChatGPT says that's like my second love language of receiving is very interesting to me because it shows, depending on what part of your healing journey you are at, no matter if you're deep diving, you're surface level diving, no matter what it is, you'll see how your love languages are shifting. Prior to that, I would kind of force myself to embrace people, hug people, or intimacy with partners because I felt like that's what they needed. I felt like that was something that would validate me in being a human being and a young girl and beautiful, and that's what people wanted. But now, when I was in a shifted mindset and I felt love from myself and I valued myself and I knew it was an energy transfer and I just couldn't wait to give the good energy to someone else, I seen how that shift to me receiving from a different point in my body and how I was received differently from people, whether it's me giving people energy readings and they're crying, whether it's people saying, wow, you just have really good energy, or just feeling someone feel happy after that hug, or just like I really needed that. Really personally for me personally, just showed the power of your energy in taking the reins of your life and rewriting your story. Because the way there's the same love language, but I pushed off two different frequencies. I pushed off two completely different energies and almost two different personas of myself, which is absolutely insane. And it's so unique. It's so unique because it once again shows us how when you're shifting to self-love and seeing your worth in actual true connection, how your love languages are also shifting. And if you are operating in a means of seeking external validation, doing things because you assume that's what people want of you, etc., you'll see how you're still never feeling fulfilled. I never ever felt fulfilled when I had that physical touch in my old way. And then I will also say, for me, words of affirmation is not anymore a high love language for me because I realized that it came from a place of, unfortunately, desperation, of wanting to get myself validated from other people, and especially males. So I really am tailoring and pulling back the words of affirmation to myself and giving myself those words of affirmation and giving it to people more, but coming from a really deep down genuine place. So instead of telling people you're prettier, surface level things, I'll say, wow, I really enjoy how you put outfits together, or I really enjoyed how you deliver that. I really enjoyed and giving people more personable affirmations, because I know deep down inside, before, when I received words of affirmation and it was just surface level, it didn't do anything for me. It didn't fulfill me. Now, I will say all the rest of the ones in my healing journey do align. I think I'd prioritize acts of service only because I think acts of service really weans out who's knowing you, who's seeing you for you because they know what you really need, and it shows someone's level of investment in you. And I think I would bring back physical touch in a way of allowing myself to be, and also allowing other people to give me that energy that I've given other people. And then I would also say, I believe I said quality time, correct? And I'll also incorporate quality time. I think that's the highest form of intimacy to me over physical touch. I think sitting in silence, but knowing what that person's thinking, or just knowing that you're sitting in that silence and it's something you both need. It's just a reflection, but that space is there, is just so powerful. Now, hearing my story, let's go into, should we even use love languages? As I explained in the first half of the pod, love languages can get really dicey, right? You don't always know what someone is operating at. Are their love languages coming from a place of trauma? Are they coming from a place of healing? Are they coming from a mix of both? Or are they coming from just doing what you think you want them to do so they can get your love? Now, I personally feel like that last one is the most tricky and scariest one, because if someone is not pursuing you in a genuine place and they're not giving you these love languages based off of what they know you will receive to feel fulfilled, and they are also not transparently giving you their true love languages, how is this going to be a cohesive relationship? And it can get dicey. As I just said, this can become a weapon in any relationship when people only give what they want to receive. So if you're having someone always giving you gifts, giving you gifts, giving you gifts, and then you never give them nothing, and they're like, well, you never given me anything. It's like, well, maybe that's not how I show love. Maybe that's not how I show affection. If someone's always wanting to spend time, but the other person, that's not their love language, they like being independent, and maybe they're more of an acts of service person and they would rather do certain things for you or schedule dates and plan things, now you're having a rift in your relationship. And I think it's so imperative to understand that this is not just for romantic relationships. This is the same thing with platonic relationships, friendship relationship, work relationships. And it all goes back to that boundary setting. I know I could think of a few friends where once we learned our love languages, like one of my friends, and you're going to know who you are when I say this, we can just be on the phone for hours and we're chilling. Like we won't literally talk, we won't speak, and like I'm a talker and I'm a yapper, so I just realized that like she's genuinely okay with just listening to me yap, and she might not say something all the time, or she's okay with it just being quiet. Now, it took us a while to get there, but also healing on my end, healing on her end, now allowed us to meet in the middle and understand, this came from that. This came from that. So I'm hoping that this is really breaking down why love languages are such a great tool, but it can get extremely tricky. True love requires learning the other's emotional blueprint, not just performing a checklist. So if you're feeling like, oh, I gotta take her out, oh, I gotta give her a kiss, oh, I gotta say you're the best girlfriend in the world, you're the best friend in the world, are you really coming from a place of love and knowing what this person wants? Or are you working off of a checklist because you think that that's what they want to hear, and you think that's what's going to give you your desired outcome? I would like to pose a question. This is not our TNT question of the episode, but a question to have you think. Are you asking others to love you in a way that you don't even know how to love yourself yet? This is such a deep and profound question that I believe will still change throughout the course of your life. You are going to go through so many seasons, shifts, and energies, friendships, relationship phases throughout your life that it's going to be difficult. You're not gonna know. You're not gonna know. Okay, one minute you're gonna want this, next minute you're gonna want that. But I do think what is important and imperative is that you're checking in with yourself. So I'm going to leave a PDF file down below that is going to be a short self checklist. It is going to include a list of questions to really understand yourself, to make sure that you are loving yourself in the way you want to receive from others. Because if you cannot receive this love from yourself, if you cannot receive these things from yourself, how are you able to receive them truly, genuinely from others? Now to our TNT question. Is your love language really your love language, or is it a survival language? When ChatGPT broke down the love languages they believed I had, it was extremely reflective to me that I was working off of a state of survival and not love. And it was scary in the moment, but as I read and reflected, I can see how it was just someone who was just surviving, not living, not enjoying. I was robbing myself from seeing other people, learning other people, feeling people's energy, and allowing people to express themselves in such a way that I couldn't do just for myself. So I really challenge you to just think about your love languages. Look at all angles. Are you receiving gifts because you feel unseen if you're not given to? Someone is not giving you quality time. It is going to bring you back to that place of abandonment and not receiving attention. Do you think your physical touch could be people not respecting your boundaries before, so now this is the only way you feel you know how to receive love? Do you think that affirmations are a way for you to band-aid the invalidation and neglect you had growing up? And lastly, do you think acts of service is a way for you to validate someone's existence in your life due to you always feeling like you have to do it alone? This episode was very deep and profound and will be, can be later in life triggering. But I highly, highly, highly recommend you understand no matter your love language, the goal is healing, not perfection. There is not a right or wrong love language, rather, what is right for you. Reflect on what is your personal love language to yourself. That's what I would reflect on. If you had to write a love language of how you can receive self-love to yourself, which is funny, it sounds backwards, like, oh, a love language to myself, but reflect on what is a love language you can give to yourself to make sure you are being fulfilled, not only to yourself, but now if you are receiving that love from someone else, it won't come off insincere and you can receive it in totality without feeling like you have to question it. Or maybe a great thing for you personally, if you already know your own personal love language and you've developed that self love, is to think about your giving love language. Where is this coming from? Is everything coming from a way of a healthy point of view? Or do you feel that you have to do certain things to receive the certain type of love you want or attract a certain kind of person? And now, if you have you're good off of those two, think about what is a love language that is difficult for you to receive. What is something that is so hard for you to receive and why? And of course, I'm going to make this all a PDF file for you to download and figure out what is all of your love language tea, okay? We're going to break it down, and this is a completely free PDF. We're going to break it down from the questions we asked in the beginning to identify a bit of your love language. Then we're going to break down your receiving, your giving, and your own self-love love language. The PDF will start with asking yourself, where does your love language come from and how can you evolve it as you heal? Allowing yourself and creating that safe space for yourself is going to be extremely important for you to understand all that we talked about in this episode. But once again, do not strive for perfection. There's going to be some love languages that just aren't for you. Maybe you're not a love language person. Maybe there are some people who do not believe in love languages and don't like love languages. But I will highly, highly recommend for anyone listening, or share this to a friend that you think may benefit, reflect on why your love language is what it is. And the results might surprise you. Remember, this is all fun and games. This is just entertainment, and love languages are such a beautiful way for us to express ourselves, give our partner insight into our life without fully saying everything, and it is a way for you to express your love and care for someone. So don't neglect them fully, rather understand them in totality. So if you enjoyed this style episode in this topic, comment down below on YouTube or head over to our TikTok some other pop cultural psychological topics you would like me to talk about, because I thought this was so fun. I thought this was so unique. This has been in my spirit and my heart for a really long time, and I think I also personally, in this time of my life, needed to reflect on my own personal love languages to myself in ways I can romanticize and love myself a bit more. And that's something we don't think about on a daily. So if you enjoyed that, or maybe the next episode will be about romanticizing your life a bit more, let me know. But of course, subscribe to our Patreon, because that is the only way you will be able to get our PDFs. If you do not subscribe to the free Patreon, you will not be able to get the free PDFs attached to certain episodes, and you won't be able to just get free game. That is a free, people will charge a good $50 to $2,000 for that. I'm giving you guys free kind of coaching, free self-healing, free self-love, free game. So make a Patreon account. The Patreon for Power and Poise is completely free. I will be linking it down below, and our first post will be live once this is up and running, including the PDF with our love languages. So pull out your notebook. I'll put some lines on there if you guys prefer to write on the document. But this was another episode of Power and Poise. I'm so excited to see you guys on Patreon, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of what your love language really says about you. Love languages reimagined.